In the barn, a girl stands at the doorway, panic-stricken and helpless. She's covered in blood and horrifying corpses lie before her. She tries to run outside. Outside, the morning mist, and a voice calls out, "Come to mommy." But there isn't a soul in sight nearby. The girl clutches her head in agony. Beside her, the sheepdog barks at her furiously. The rattling chain lunges toward the small, frail body. In a moment of terror, the girl wakes up, sitting on a tour bus heading to the outskirts. The bus is filled with friends singing and dancing, but she doesn't join in the chorus. She touches her belly. It's quite clear that she's pregnant. However, after everyone falls asleep, the bus deviates from its designated route, taking a small path toward a remote mountain valley. While they're still confused, several men put on masks and throw in stun grenades. They then carry the girl off the bus. Everyone else on the bus is dealt with. When the girl wakes under a harsh light, she finds herself on an operating table, with a television broadcasting news about a tour bus fallen off a cliff. Standing by her are Dr. Bai's sisters, who claim to be on her side. They say they know she's pregnant, that the baby is a girl, and that in the future, this girl will have countless brothers and sisters. Time jumps to the present. A girl dressed in black is smoking in the cold wind. On her thumb she has Shi'u tattooed. Companions appear in the SUV behind her. The real protagonist, mother-daughter number 2, wakes up in a laboratory littered with corpses. She rips off the equipment attached to her body and, covered in filthy blood, walks out. Outside is a vast expanse of white snow. And number 2 finds it all very wondrous. Suddenly, fragments flash through her Minda woman with tubes inserted all over her body, floating inside a container. Her head throbs, powers erupt uncontrollably, causing snow chunks to freeze midair. Her abilities affect the natural world. Why does she seem more powerful than simulated number 1? When White Sister learns number 2's disappearance, she realizes she was still vacationing at the seaside villa. Although she had stepped back from the front lines, she still had some influence, but the handsome man who came to talk to her clearly had ulterior motives. Not only did number 2 slip away, but the lab headquarters was also breached from the inside. By the previous generation of puppet figures, they seem to have been released by someone. Since very few people knew the headquarters location, Ajo quickly narrowed down the suspects. It had to be the work of the transhumanist organization or the alliance operating in secret. Bai Mei and Arshu each had their own stongs, but there was no time to investigate the truth. Right now, finding number 2 was the top priority. It was number 2's first time outside, wandering aimlessly through the forest. When he reached a nearby road, he didn't even know to follow traffic rules and nearly collided with a van. The van's occupants were thugs, working for A Long, a gangster who always wanted Qingxi's family land. Learning Qingxi returned from America, he ordered her kidnapping. During the crime, someone witnessed it. Worried the girl saw their license plate and would call police, they dragged her into the van too. Qingxi, beautiful and kind, tried to persuade the thugs not to harm the innocent child. However, just as she was trying to convince the thugs, number 2 blurted out the license plate number, and even clearly stated the address, written on the inspection sticker on the back of the car. The thugs saw him covered in blood and acting aggressively, which ended up angering the young newcomer who had just entered society. Not only did they get badly beaten, but their car was also wrecked. Qingxi was knocked out during the fight, and when she came to, she was quite frightened. She looked at the seemingly harmless girl, who had actually beaten several grown men until they were on their knees begging for mercy. After kindly calling an ambulance for the thugs, Qingxi originally planned to escape herself and called her acquaintance Dr. Shu to come pick her up. While chatting with Dr. Shu, number 2 suddenly fainted for no apparent reason, so they had no choice but to take her back for treatment. To their surprise, the young child had numerous bullet wounds all over their body, and there was even a tiny electronic device implanted in their skull. Normally, no one could survive injuries like these. After Dr. Shou removed the bullets, number 2's wounds healed at an abnormal rate. It was as if the minor surgery was an illusion. The doctor didn't dare tell Qingxi the truth, subtly persuading her to call the police. But Qingxi didn't want police involvement, so she decided to care for the person until recovery, bringing number 2 back to the ranch. Number 2 had a good impression of Qingxi, acting silly and cheerful, just smiling. When they entered, a young man immediately grabbed Qingxi's chin to check her wound. Not knowing what was happening, number 2 almost broke his wrist, but Qingxi stopped him in time. The young man was Qingxi's younger brother. After their father was killed by A Long, the siblings had to keep the family ranch going. In the evening, Qingxi cooked dinner. The delicious food made number 2's mouth water, but he didn't eat. It wasn't until Qingdi was scolded by his sister for playing with his phone at the table punched and kicked that number 2 ate, quickly finishing everything on his plate. After dinner, Qingxi prepared a room and found clothes for him. Unexpectedly, number 2 sat there dazed, silent, recalling the gentle nurse Qingxi shown him. However, as he was living normally, Bai Mei sent people to capture him. The people sent were cyborg mercenaries, hired by the lab to clean up uncontrollable or failed cyborgs. The captain is efficient and decisive, with eyes as sharp as computer processors. The assistant is the comic relief and a total foodie. They had just finished a mission in Central Asia and immediately reported to Bai Mei's villa after getting info on number 2. The captain asked about Zhu Jiayun. Bai Mei replied that she didn't know. Zhu Jiayun proved tougher than expected. Despite serious injury, she escaped his heavily guarded villa and sabotaged other labs. However, Bai Mei assured the captain not to worry. Zhu Jiayun has a clear weakness. Her brain function relies on medication. Without it, she can't perform optimally, posing little threat. But number 2 is differences too perfect, far more destructive, and must be eliminated at all costs. This won't be easy. The captain, repaying Bai Mei's decade-old favor, readily accepted the mission. That favor likely won't be revealed until the 3rd installment. Before the captain left, Bai Mei handed him a device. The lab had implanted chips in each child's brain, which could record their mental activity. As soon as number 2 uses their ability, the device can pinpoint their exact location. The captain doesn't know how to use this thing yet, but he guesses it's automatic. He stuffed it in his pocket and left with his assistant by car. On the way, they even ran into a car full of tailgaters. Who's got the guts to mess with the big boss lady? The assistant didn't take the people following them seriously either, so he looked for a chance and rammed their car. After getting out to question them, they realized the pursuers were also cyborgs. Unfortunately, their modification level was too low, and the assistant beat them up without them being able to fight back. The captain recognized where these people came from and told them to pass a message to their boss, find a chance to meet. This boss is Shuai. 10 years ago, the captain worked under Shuai, but he later went solo. Anyway, this show loves piling on backstory. Almost everyone is a riddle. When the assistant pointed at the captain, the device suddenly picked up a signal. Number 2, who was in the ranch, was humming a tune when he suddenly felt a splitting headache and started bleeding from his nose, as if affected by something. After he managed to get his body under control, he saw a line of cars pulling up outside. Was none other than the relentless Arlong. This time, Arlong brought a group of fierce-looking thugs with him, clearly intending to force Qingxi to sign the land transfer contract. Qingxi stood at the door with a gun, confronting Arlong. Unfortunately, she had never fired a gun before and was quickly subdued by the thugs. Her younger brother, who rushed over to help, was also captured. However, after capturing the siblings, Arlong didn't immediately force them to sign the contract. Instead, he wanted to teach them a lesson. Number 2 didn't understand contracts, but he clearly saw people getting beaten. He struck a cool pose on the rooftop, then leapt down. With just a few moves, he took down dozens of thugs. Arlong was so terrified that he fell to the ground, unable to even speak clearly. Just as number 2 was about to teach Arlong a lesson, but kind-hearted Qingxi stepped in to stop him, slapped Arlong across the face, and told him to get lost. After Arlong left, Emperor Qing was left in a daze. The goddess of war is actually in my house. He instantly became a fan, so excited he could hardly contain himself. Of course, with all these woos, number 2's location was exposed, and someone with ill intention. The captain tracked down a person with the external device, but he didn't choose to start a fight right away. The next day, he went to the cemetery to meet with Shuai, and the two awkwardly complimented each other on how handsome they were. In private, Shuai revealed a piece of information to the captain. After Zhu Ziong left Bai Mei's villa, he also raided 3 laboratories, including the one in Shanghai. That raid was a big deal. They released all the advanced experimental subjects inside, which means all the clay dolls were set free. The captain didn't care. He warned Shuai not to send anyone to follow him again, or there would be serious consequences, then threw down harsh words and left. I don't know why you met Shuai. I thought you'd discuss something earth-shattering, but you just kept a cold face and threatened the whole time. You might as well have let those 2 subordinates deliver the warning. As soon as Shuai mentioned the clay doll info, this group rushed to Korea. Speaking such awkward Chinese is cringeworthy. It makes you want to curl your toes. It's so awkward I just want to mute him. Can't they even afford to hire a Chinese voice actor? In the show, everyone except ordinary people is mysterious and unfathomable. But it falls apart with the clay dolls. What they say is negligible. It shows off the bossy nature of the clay doll leader, the woman in sunglasses. Other members tremble when she speaks, but if hurt, it has no plot impact. They might as well say nothing. Meanwhile, Along gets snubbed at Qingxi's house, so he questions an old acquaintance, the veterinarian, to find out where number 2 came from. The veterinarian doesn't want to betray his friend, so Shuai chops off his thumb. Shuai realizes number 2 is a wanted criminal and starts scheming. Number 2 is heading to the supermarket with Qingxi and her brother, drooling over food and videos, only thinking of eating. At the supermarket, he sweeps through all free sample stations. If I'm not embarrassed, others will be. Jinji can't stand it and quickly drags number 2 away. Jingxi receives a call for help from the vet and rushes to take him to the hospital. But when they return to the veterinary clinic, they are met with a table covered in blood, a shocking sight. The veterinarian, aware of Along's ruthless methods, urges Jingxi to get rid of number 2 and hand over the ranch land and house. He warns her not to go against Along, or her fate could be even worse than his. That land her parents' hard-earned legacy, and Jingxi, naturally he didn't consent, but as soon as he got back to the car, trouble found him targeted by the captain and assistant. At the same time, Along was on the phone claiming the bounty, but unexpectedly, the clay doll found his office. 2 subordinates shot dead on the spot, and his phone was crushed by a girl. Now, he doesn't dare resist. The clay doll came specifically for clue number 2. Seeing his subordinates killed easily, Along still boldly tried to strike a deal with the clay doll's fortune favors the bold, and his gamble paid off. The woman in sunglasses handed him a vial of blood-red serum. Once injected, it would transform an ordinary human's physique. Meanwhile, Brother Qing tried to persuade number 2 to start live streaming and posting videos to make money, showing him a clip of Zhu Jiayun appearing on a show. Number 2 has no family burdens and is extremely simple-minded, with little desire for money. But as a foodie, he can't resist the temptation of food. When Brother Qing offered food as a deal, his eyes lit up with stars, and he made everything around him float. This is way more impressive than Zhu Jiayun playing with the microphone. Brother Qing felt the ghoul was gazing at him affectionately, but when he turned and saw the floating objects in the air, he realized it was number 2 using his powers. Unfortunately, good times never last long. The captain showed Qingxi lab footage, revealing number 2's terrifying nature. Living with number 2 was a ticking time bomb for the siblings. So, the captain asked Jingxi to cooperate from inside, luring number 2 to an open area for a shot. They prepared enough firepower and waited outside for Jingxi's signal. Coincidentally, there was a fireworks festival. Kind-hearted Jingxi couldn't do it. Looking at the innocent little girl, she tearfully urged her to run away quickly. Number 2 heard a car approaching. Outside it was Along, with his henchmen and the clay figurines. Jingxi went out to buy time, letting her brother take number 2 and escape over the roof. Along shot Jingxi, seriously wounding her. The captain's accomplice saw number 2 escaping and immediately opened fire. Fireworks were in full bloom, so the gunfire didn't attract attention. The clay figurine spotted a sniper and sent someone to challenge them. The captain and his assistant fought the clay figurines. With a slight lift of a hand, the woman in sunglasses pulls the surrounding fence to shatter into sharp wooden splinters, instantly killing all the fowls present. Only then did the captain realize that he and the clay figure were on completely different levels, and he hurriedly grabbed his gun and opened fire. Relying on his extensive combat experience, he managed to shoot straight through the woman in sunglasses' head in an instant, even blowing off her fingers. But unexpectedly, the woman in sunglasses had an incredible self-healing ability, and such severe injuries healed within seconds. Taking advantage of the chaos, Along aimed his gun at Jingdi. The captain rushed to block the shot, but was still too late. Both siblings died. Just as the chaotic battle ended, the second mother-daughter pair woke up in the forest. As they dragged the sniper's corpse past an arrogant clay figure, they boasted about separating number 2's body, but after a reckless charge, their brains were easily blown out. Meanwhile, the captain and his assistant were knocked down by the clay figure, so badly injured they couldn't move. Just as he was about to be shot, number 2 copied what he'd seen and dragged the clay figure's corpse over. When he saw the brother and sister lying on the ground, his rage rose. With his glare, he pounded a clay figure's arm. The woman in sunglasses was sent flying. She tried to fight back, charging with a knife, only to find her hands wouldn't obey her. Under number 2's telekinetic control, she stabbed herself full of holes. A clay figure quickly restored its arm and cursed number 2, calling him a monster hitting a sore spot. Number 2 simply unleashed his full power. Surrounding earth chunks instantly floated, exploding into powder, forming a massive tornado. The clay figures could barely move in the swirling dust, swept into the hurricane center, meeting their end. At that moment, a knife appeared, dispersing the tornado. An SUV pulled up, and out stepped Zhu Jiayun, who had been a bystander. The woman in sunglasses thought her savior had arrived, but to her surprise, Ju Dayun actually knew number 2 and called her her younger sister. It was only at the moment of her death that the woman in sunglasses realized she had been used. Before she could even confront Ju Dayun, her neck was twisted and she was killed. It turned out that Ju Dayun had been injured at the Shanghai laboratory and was unable to meet number 2. So she sent Mud Doll to raid the Jeju Island laboratory. She wanted to test the roommate skills of her younger sister. At that time, number 2 was easily shot in the head by the woman in sunglasses, to the point that the wealthy employer thought they had found the wrong person. After secretly following them, she gradually realized something was off. So when number 2 displayed her special abilities, she revealed herself. She wanted to find their mother for a bone marrow transplant. It was said that number 2 was mentally connected to their mother, so she hoped to work with her sister to find their mom. Number 2 felt heartbroken over the deaths of her siblings. She wanted to save them, and Ju Dayun had a vial of the drug. However, those who took it would die painfully. Long was an example. Ju Dayun advised her to let the siblings pass as humans. Number 2 broke down, collapsing. After Ju Dayun injected her, she took her away. However, just as he drove away, Shui arrived with his men. The captain tried to call Shui for backup, but when he dialed, he saw Shui calmly answering the phone on the rooftop. Shui advised the captain to stay calm, saying he already had a good idea of the whereabouts of the witch sisters. Bai Mei realized the two sisters met, knowing a great battle was imminent. Meanwhile, the witch's mother, with tubes inserted and connected to a container of unknown liquid, opened her eyes. That's the end of the story for Witch 2. The first film told the story of the older sister, the second one was about the younger sister, and it seems the third will focus on the mother. Will the mother turn out to be the final big boss? It looks like Ashley will have more scenes later on. What kind of grudge does he have with the captain from 10 years ago? We'll have to wait for the director to make the third film to find out. I'll continue to explain similar movies in the future, so if you like this kind of content, don't forget to follow me.